Now in this section we are going to learn about two type of components, that is the circulators and the isolators. Now both of them understand that they are going to employ ferrites in their operation. Okay, so just to see and understand that we are going to employ a mechanism of Faraday rotation by use of ferrites in both our circulators and isolators. So these are the oxide-based compounds having a general composition of the form MEoFe2O3. It is a mixture of metallic ferrites and ferric oxides. So this MEO, it can represent any type of divalent metal oxide. For example, it can employ say zinc oxide, manganese oxide, nickel oxide, etc. Okay, so in microwave devices, ferrites find the application to reduce the reflection. So we basically employ these ferrite in our microwave devices, namely our circulator and the isolator, to reduce the reflections. And we employ a property called as Faraday rotation. Okay, by Faraday rotation we mean that a linearly polarized wave when propagating through a ferrite in the direction of bias, the polarization undergoes rotation proportional to the length of the ferrite. This phenomenon is called as the Faraday rotation, which is a non-reciprocal effect. That is, whatever is happening say in one direction, it is not going to happen in the reverse direction. That is a non-reciprocal effect. For example, the plane of polarization is here changed here as understood from the figure. Say it is getting rotating by say 45 degrees here when it is passing here through the length of a ferrite. So such type of property will be employed in the working principles of circulators and isolators. So these are the raw materials used for making the microwave components. That is irreversible property also. Whatever the property is in one direction, say in forward direction, it will not be the same in the reverse direction. So now we are going to see one by one towards the different microwave components where we are going to use these ferrite materials. So we will see one by one isolator and the circulator. So first we will see about the microwave circulators. Okay, from the name we understand that the signal is going to circulate, that is in a circular fashion. So what do you mean by a microwave circulator? It is a multi-port waveguide junction in which the wave can flow from only the nth port to n plus 1th port in one direction as shown in the figure. So how many ports we are having? The wave can only travel say from the nth port to the n plus 1th port. Here the example is shown for a 4-port circulator. We are having 4 ports and the arrow direction here shows that the wave is going to propagate here in the anti-clockwise direction. Say from we are giving the input at port 4, so it can penetrate only to port 1. It cannot go back here, and again from port 1 it is going to port 2, from port 2 to port 3, etc. So it is going in a circular manner only in one particular direction. Okay, so that is why it is written nth port to n plus 1th port in one direction. Although there is no restriction on the number of ports, the 4-port microwave circulator is the most common. So usually we employ either a 3-port or a 4-port microwave circulator. The most common is a 4-port microwave circulator. So when we consider say a 3-port circulator where it is having 3 ports, either can the direction of propagation be in clockwise or in anti-clockwise. So whichever way it is, okay, either in clockwise or say in anti-clockwise. If we are applying say the input at port 1, it will appear at only port 2. If say we are applying the input say at port 2, then it will appear only at port 1. During that time, the third port will be the isolated port. So when we are writing the S matrix for a circulator, Obviously, we know it is a 3-port which we have considered here. So it will be a 3 by 3 matrix. The scattering matrix will be a 3 by 3 matrix. And you can see here many elements are 0. It is due to the property of the circulator. For example, if we are having the input, say, which is applied here at port 1 and the wave is traveling here, say, to port number 3. So, here S13 can arise. But S31 will be 0 since it cannot propagate in the opposite direction. So, here say the wave is applied at port 1 and it is coming at port 3. Okay, so we will get the S13. So obviously we get S32 also. Okay, that is why S32 is present, and then we will get here S21. So S21 is also present. Other elements will become 0. So in general, you can represent the S matrix of a 3-port circulator as such. It is having the elements 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. So when we are saying about the working of a 3-port circulator, it can also be called as a Y-junction circulator. So the previous figure here, just we have explained in words, you can go through it. For example, input signal applied at say port 1, the output will appear from port 2. So during that time being, port 3 is our isolated port. So what will be our isolation factor? It will be the loss, say, from port 1 to 3 is referred to as isolation, and the insertion loss will be, say, from port 1 to 2. Okay. So similarly for the other ports, say input we are applying at port 2, output will be from port 3. During that time being, port 1 is the isolated port. Similarly from the port 3, it will again appear at port 1. Since it is a 3-port circulator, 3-port circulator can also be called as a Y-junction circulator. So this is a figure for a 4-port circulator. So the same working principle, that is a circulator, the wave propagates in circular fashion either in clockwise or anti-clockwise. So being a 4-port device, the S matrix here is a 4 cross 4 matrix. Okay, so we will be having the S matrix as such, and you can see we have written the diagonal elements to be 0. So since it is a 4-port device, all the 4 junctions, it can be perfectly matched, so that we can assume the diagonal elements to be 0. Okay, so how do we write generally the S matrix for a 4-port circulator? Say we are considering the wave propagation here. Say we are considering here in the anti-clockwise direction. So from the wave propagating, say from the port 1. Okay. So from the port 1, we are considering here, that is the wave is propagating, say, to port 4. Okay. So what will happen? S14 element will be present. Again from port 4, it is going, say, to port 3. So S43 element will also be present. That is why we have written there 1. Then 3, 2 will be present. So this particular element S32 we have written 1. Okay, then S21. So this S21 element we have written as 1. All the other elements will be 0. Okay, so we can generalize S matrix for a circulator by using the working principle of the circulator. Now this is a figure for a 4-port circulator. Okay, so now we can understand why we have seen the property of a ferrite, that is Faraday rotation, in the beginning. Because we are actually employing the ferrite here, okay, for the working of the circulator. See, the signal which is applied, say, at port 1. So here the dominant mode in a rectangular waveguide is TE10 mode. It is getting transferred to a TE11 mode because from the gradual transition from the rectangular to a circular waveguide, since it is going to propagate now in a circular fashion. Okay, that is why here TE10 is written at the beginning. When it go inside, it becomes, say, a TE11. So there is a gradual transition here from a rectangular to circular. So signal which is going here, the wave which is going emerging here from the port 1, the input is going from the port 1. It is not going to be affected by the port 3 because the electric field is not here significantly cut by the port 3. Now when it goes through the ferrite, obviously it undergoes Faraday rotation. So there is a clockwise rotation in the 45 degrees. Okay, so by 45 degrees the wave is getting clockwise rotation, and again the wave electric field is not significantly cut by the port 4. So it will emerge, say, out from the port 2. So a wave from port 1 has now emerged, say, at port 2. Now again the input which we are giving at port 2, it is already tilted. Okay, the plane of polarization is now already tilted in the clockwise by 45 degree. When it passes through port 4, again the electric field is not significantly cut. So it is not much affected by port 4. Now it again undergoes a Faraday rotation by the ferrite. So again a clockwise rotation of 45 degree it undergoes. So now we are having a 90-degree rotation of the wave which is now entering from the port 2. So what happens? This wave and the port 3 is now aligned, and so the wave is going to emerge out from the port 3. Okay, so this is how the working occurs. Similarly, again from port 3 it will emerge only at port 1. So now we have seen how a wave input which is given, say, at port 1 is emerging out from port 2. Okay, that is, it gets rotation by the Faraday rotation principle of the ferrite, 45 degree tilted. The electric field line, since it is not significantly cut by this port 3 and port 4 because of its placement, gets emerged out from port 2. Okay, now this wave from the port 2 is already 45 degree tilted. That is, a plane of polarization is already 45 degree tilted here because of the ferrite material. Again, when it is going back, it is not affected by port 4 of the same reason that the electric field is not significantly cut, but again it goes Faraday rotation similarly in the clockwise direction again by 45 degrees. So it becomes a total of 90-degree rotation, which will be properly aligned with the port 3, and so the wave will now emerge through port 3. So input from port 1 come at port 2, from port 2 it goes to port 3. So again this will continue from port 3 to 4. So only in a circular one directional manner the 4-port circulator is going to work. So here in words I have explained once more the working of 4-port circulator. You can go through it. So the power at port 1 is in TE10 mode. Because of the gradual transition from the rectangular to circular, it is now converted to TE11 mode. Power passes port 3 unaffected since the electric field is not significantly cut. Again it gets rotated by 45 degree due to ferrite, passes port 4 unaffected, finally emerges out of port 2. So port 2 have the plane of polarization already tilted by 45 degree with respect to port 1. Again it goes another rotation of 45 degree due to the ferrite rod in clockwise direction. Now the power whose plane of polarization is tilted through 90 degree is suitably aligned to port 3 and emerges out of it. So from port 1 it can come through only port 2. Again input from port 2, the output will come only out of, say, port 3. Similarly for the others also. Port 3 is coupled to port 4, port 4 to port 1, etc. So since we are employing this ferrite rod inside the circulator because of Faraday rotation only, this property is coming in the circulator. Now we have seen about the circulator, okay, the internal working of a circulator. Now for the interest we can know how the circulator is used for particular applications. So circulator will find many applications. For example, in case of a radar antenna system, it can be used as a duplexer. So from the working principle of circulator, here this is a 4-port circulator. We know the signal can propagate only in a circular manner, either in, say, clockwise or anti-clockwise. So the radar antenna here is connected to the port 2. Obviously from port 2 we will be having linkage to port 1 and port 3, because if a signal is going to propagate, say, from port 1, it can travel to port 2, and from port 2 it can travel to port 3. So port 1 and port 3 will be say isolated ports. So the powerful radar transmitter is isolated from the sensitive receiver, and the same antenna we can employ for both the transmission and the reception. That is a function of using the circulator as a duplexer. That is, using the circulator, to one port we can connect the transmitter, to the other port we can use the receiver, and to the other port we connect a what? A radar antenna system. So the single antenna can be used for a transmission and reception. That is why we can say that a circulator can be used as a duplexer for radar antenna system. Now commonly we employ the isolator device such that it allows the wave propagation only in one direction and not in the reverse direction. But if we do not have an isolator, we can also employ our circulator as an isolator. That is, if we consider a 3-port circulator, one port is terminated. To use 3-port circulator as isolator, you can terminate the one port, okay, and use it as an isolator. So the power loss, say, from port 1 to port 2 is less, which is called as the insertion loss, and the power loss from port 2 to port 1, that is backwards propagation, port 2 to port 1 is more, which is known as the isolation. So if you want, if there is no isolator, you can also employ your 3-port circulator as an isolator if required. Now circulators can also be used in parametric amplifier. This is an example showing how it can be applied along with the tunnel diode. So tunnel diode is an active device which can be employed for amplification, say, of a microwave signal. So this is an example to understand that you can use your circulator along with the tunnel diode. So in the example, 2 circulators are used having 3 number of ports. So the input signal which is to be amplified is applied to the port 1 of the first circulator. So obviously the signal will emerge, say, from port 1 to 2 where we are connecting our tunnel diode. And obviously there is transmission from port 2 to port 3. So from port 3 we connect our next 3-port circulator. So this is, say, port 1, and again the amplified signal emerges out from port 2 where we get the output. And port 3 you can place here a match load termination to avoid the reflection. So it's a simple example showing that the circulator can be used along with the tunnel diode to get an amplified output. Now you can directly write the S matrix for a circulator from its property, but in case if you are asked for the examination, say, to derive the S matrix of a circulator, okay, so draw a figure, say, of a 4-port circulator and state its principle. Say if a wave is applied, say, to port 2, it will appear from port 1 only, and from port 1 it will appear to port 4 only. So likewise, draw the figure, state the principle, and then show how the S matrix turn out to be. Okay, so since we know that it is 4-port device, all the ports can be perfectly matched. We consider first of all the diagonal elements to be 0. We assume that there is no reflection at any of these 4 ports. Then we consider whatever signal we are applying, say from port 2, it is coming at port 1. So S21 we are having. Okay, the other element will be 0. That is S12 will be 0 since it is a reciprocal. Okay, and again whatever we have applied at port 2, it appears at port 1. Okay, and again we can say what? There will be element of S14 since there is transmission, say, from port 1 to port 4. S14. So this S21 and S14 will be equal. Similarly S43 and S32. So all these elements will be equal from the property of the circulator. So we can reduce and write our S matrix as such. Okay, so we have simplified our S matrix in such a manner. We have to find, say, the value of only one element. Okay, so we can derive the S matrix for a circulator. So now what we do? Employ the unitary property for the S matrix. So by employing the unitary property S into S conjugate is equal to the identity matrix, we get the value for S21 as 1. So finally we can write the S matrix of circulator as such. So the other elements are 0. There is only the elements which are written here is only due to the property of the circulator. That is, wave propagates in a circular fashion only in one direction, and the elemental values obtained here are shown. So if you are asked to derive the S matrix of a circulator, make sure that you are writing all these steps. Now we see the next type, that is the isolator, which is again going to employ the ferrite and use the principle of Faraday rotation. So isolator is a non-reciprocal transmission device which is used to isolate one component from the reflections of other components in the transmission line. That it allows the transmission only in one direction and not in the reverse direction. An ideal isolator completely absorbs the power for propagation in one direction and provide lossless transmission in the opposite direction. So in one direction, say it is having got infinite resistance, and in the other direction it is going to provide a lossless transmission. So the isolator can also be called as a uni-line. Isolators are generally used to improve the frequency stability of microwave generators such as klystron, magnetron, in which the reflection from the load affects the generating frequency. In such cases, the isolator is placed between the generator and load. It prevents the reflected power from the unmatched load from returning to the generator. So as a result, the isolator maintains the frequency stability of the generator. So these are the things you already know, since you are also seeing the lectures of the microwave laboratory, microwave lab. We always employ isolator in our test bench so that there is no reflection from the unmatched load which is going to enter the klystron and cause a damage to it. And also we are making sure that a frequency stability for our generator. It can be any type of source generator like klystron, magnetron. So we have to always employ a isolator. So this is an example for a microwave bench, and you see the importance of placing an isolator in this bench. So even if it is whatever type of a source is employed, a klystron or a gun diode, etc., the placing of isolator is important here so that it makes sure that no reflections from the unmatched load, or if there is a mismatch in the impedance from the load side, the reflections are not coming and causing a damage to our klystron source or our gun diode. Okay, so the placement of isolator in a microwave bench, that is going to be very important. So in this figure, I will explain how the isolator is actually working with the help of a Faraday rotation in a ferrite. So in the internal working, also understand that we are going to use the resistive card vanes. So we have to understand the property of this resistive card employed. That is, this resistive card which is used in the larger dimension of a waveguide. Here we are using say two resistive cards here. Okay. So, and we are employing here it in the larger dimension of the waveguide, we are placing it, and understand that it is a property of this resistive card to absorb any waves whose plane of polarization is parallel to the plane of the resistive card. Okay, so if the plane of the polarization of the incoming wave is perpendicular to the plane of the resistive card, there is no problem. It allows the wave to pass through it. Okay, but if the plane of polarization of the incoming wave is parallel to the plane of the polarization of the resistive card, then what happens? The wave will be completely absorbed. Okay, so understand that property of the resistive card before actually proceeding to the working of the isolator. So as you can see from the two figures, the first figure here explain what will happen if say a wave is propagating from port 1 to port 2, that is explained by this figure. And the second figure here explains what will happen if the wave is traveling from port 2 to port 1. So see the first case. Suppose we are providing an input say from port to 1. Okay, a TE10 mode is say propagating here because of the rectangular waveguide. So what happens? It will enter this twist here. a twist is provided, 45-degree twist is provided in the waveguide. So what happened, because of this twist, the plane of polarization is getting shifted here by 45-degree, and that is occurring, say, here in the anti-clockwise direction. It is not occurring in the clockwise direction, it is occurring in a anti-clockwise direction because of its twist in the waveguide. Okay, so it is getting a gradual transition here from the TE10 mode to TE11 mode because of the gradual transition from the rectangular to the circular waveguide, and the wave is going to now propagate in a circular fashion. That is why the transition here from TE10 mode to TE11 mode. So because of this twist, it is getting what? 45-degree rotation, that too in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so in the anti-clockwise direction it is getting twisted, and when it reaches this ferrite material, what happened? Due to Faraday rotation, there is a 45-degree rotation, that is in the clockwise direction. Okay, so now the rotation is in clockwise. So in effect, what happens? Here it has get it twisted, say by 45-degree in the anti-clockwise, and due to the ferrite it is getting 45-degree rotation in the clockwise. So in effect, there is no rotation, it cancels, and the output emerging out from the port 2, the plane of polarization is same as that of the incident wave. There is no attenuation produced, and whatever, there is no change in polarization. So whatever input we are applying at port 1, it is going to now emerge from port 2. Now consider the reverse case. Okay, we know isolator is only a two-port device. So we'll just see what will happen. The wave is going, say, from port 1 to port 2. That is already explained. Now say it is going from port 2 to port 1. So what will happen? Say it is going to port 2. It is having the same plane of polarization as that of port 1. So first of all, it is going to enter this, what? The resistive card. So since the plane of polarization is perpendicular, it is not affected by this particular resistive card. So it goes into this waveguide. Since there is a transition here from the rectangular to circular, TE10 now changes to, say, TE11. So now what happened? It is coming, it is reaching the ferrite material. So it undergoes what? Now a 45-degree rotation, that is going to take place in the clockwise direction due to Faraday rotation. So there is a 45-degree rotation when it reaches this ferrite material, and then it further goes to the twist of the waveguide. So what happened here? The twist is again occurring in the clockwise direction. So what will happen? Now this will become a 90-degree, okay, total shift of 90-degree, and the plane of polarization is now becoming what? Parallel. So the plane, if you are considering, it is parallel to the plane of the resistive card. So it is a property of the resistive card to absorb any waves which is coming to it with the plane of polarization parallel to the plane of resistive card. So what happened? The signal will be completely absorbed and it will be dissipated as heat in the resistive card. So no wave is going to emanate or come out of port 1. It is completely absorbed by this resistive card. Okay, so there is no transmission from port 2 to port 1, whereas whatever we are applying at port 1, it is going to come out of port 2. So this explains the working of isolator, internal working of isolator, where we have employed the Faraday rotation by using the ferrite, and we have employed the two resistive cards in the larger dimension of a waveguide, and also employed a twist here in waveguide. So this explains the total internal working for a isolator. Now when we are considering about the S matrix for a isolator, so isolator is a two-port device, okay, port 1 and port 2. So either we can have transmission, say, from port 1 to port 2 or from port 2 to port 1. Only in one direction isolator is going to allow. It is a non-reciprocal device. Okay, say we are having no attenuation, say from port 1 to port 2, and say infinite attenuation, say from port 2 to port 1. Okay, so if we want to, say, derive the S matrix of isolator directly by using a property itself, you can write. But if you are asked for the examination, say, to derive the S matrix for our isolator by using the principles, we can first of all reduce our S matrix and then apply the unitary property. So assuming that the two ports being perfectly matched, the diagonal elements S11 and S22 to be equal to 0, Since it is a two-port device, we will be having a 2 cross 2 matrix, and say from the property of isolator, we are going to write, say, S12 is equal to 0. Okay. So what happens if S12 is equal to 0? Only the S21 is going to remain. Okay. It can be reverse also. Okay. So we can reduce the S matrix as such. So only one element we are having. So next we employ the unitary property and get the elemental value for the S matrix. So applying the unitary property S into S conjugate is equal to the identity matrix, we get the value for S21 as equal to 1. So the S matrix for the isolator is obtained as 0, 0, 1, 0. So we are having, say, transmission from S to 1, that is from the port to 2, say, to port 1 and not in the reverse direction. So if you are asked to derive the S matrix for an isolator, you have to show these steps. Otherwise, if you are explaining the function of an isolator, you could directly write from the property the S matrix for an isolator as such. So in this section, we have learnt about the ferrite, the property of a ferrite, that is Faraday rotation, which is being employed in both of these devices, that is the isolators and circulators, the functions, the properties of both the circulator and the isolator, the S matrix for the circulator and the isolator, and the application where you are actually employing in practical applications where you are using your circulator, isolator, etc.